Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Mania Mayhem. I got a very special guest. I got cheap wrestler, or should I say, the cheapest wrestler, Matt Rivera. Matt, for the people that don't know who you are, you want the people to know who you are, what you do, anything.
How's it going? How's it going? Yeah, cheap wrestler in the house. What's going on, everybody?
Good, good, good.
Thanks for having me.
Wait, thanks for being on here, man. That's thanks for being on here, taking the time out of your busy schedule to come on here.
Of course, my
Yeah.
pleasure.
Do you want to let the people know who you are, what you do?
Yeah, you did say that. That's right. You,
Yeah,
you did say
yeah.
that.
It's all
So
good.
absolutely. So I'm usually known for one of two things, being the wrestler who was on Extreme Cheapskates or the guy who asked wrestling questions. That's what people say, like, oh, you're the guy who asked all the wrestling questions. That's the new thing, but we'll get into that later. Most of my adulthood I spent doing professional wrestling. My claim to fame was doing a TNA tryout on the show TLC's Extreme
Yeah, I
Cheapskates.
saw that one. Yeah.
Yeah. And after that, things didn't actually immediately explode. Things kind of exploded later on. It started being featured on a lot of reaction videos on YouTube, and I think that's really when it started blowing up. And yeah, I'm a father of two, so that's
Oh,
new.
well, congrats.
Thanks. A lot of people don't know that. Um,
Well, now they
yeah,
do.
now they do. Otherwise, I'm just a dude, just like
Yeah,
just like you, just like
yeah,
everybody else.
yeah. Yeah, more about the cheap stakes. What kind of like how did they kind of reach out to you about that and then your whole like TNA experience and then you being the cheapstake. I don't want to say it, but you being the cheapstake that you are, like what kind
Yeah,
of like what kind of like what kind of put all that stuff together?
sure. So that's a good question. A lot of people ask me about, how did that happen? Like, how did the whole thing come to be?
Yeah,
So I had a good friend, well, have a good friend. He reached out to me one day and he goes, "Hey man, the show on TLC, Extreme Cheapskates, they're looking for cheapskates and you're pretty cheap. You should apply. You should see if you can get on it." And I'm like, "Why? Why? First of all, I'm offended. And second of all, why would I do that? Like,
yeah,
no." And he's like, "Come on, man. They want like a 1 minute audition tape, and you're so charismatic and funny, and they would pick you. They would pick you." I'm like, "All right, just to humor you, I'll make this, 1 minute video where basically it's like, oh, tell us about some of the cheap things you do." So I did the video, I sent it in, and I think like 2 days later, I get a call from TLC, and they're like, "We loved your audition tape, but also we looked you up and we see that you're a wrestler. Can we like, do you mind if we make that into an episode?" No, I don't mind. And around the same time, at this point I was really, really grinding and wrestling.
yeah,
So they, as far as like the dates that they wanted to film, it really worked out well with the TNA tryout because they wanted to film a little sooner and those things would not have aligned as well as they did. But it was kind of weird with the TNA tryout. I shouldn't say weird, but there was just so much going on, and when I look back at that experience, I'm like, oh man, I wish I did some things differently. I wouldn't say no major regrets. A lot of people are like, oh, do you regret this? Do you wish you wore more, better attire so they wouldn't have said anything about, how I look so plain in the black and red? Nah, those things don't really bother me. I think I just would have made my minutes mean more. Like I feel like I did the tryout. It was over in a flash. I blinked my eyes and it was done. And then I just kind of respectfully walked away. And I'm like, man, like there's more I should have been able to do with that opportunity, Even to this day. To this day, I always expected to hear from TNA, even for something, Some way we can work together and make money. I know it's out there, even though it's almost been a decade since the episode. I still feel that way.
yeah. I mean, hey, they could have put the you being a cheap with the tape around your booth as a gimmick. That could have been like that could have been your thing. You know how Undertaker has an Undertaker stick? That could have been your thing. You're just you're cheap. You just stay in catering the whole time. You're just like, I don't want to go out and wrestle. I'm just gonna stay in catering. That could have
Right.
been you. That could have been you. That could
Just
have been a gimmick.
I
That would
bring a
have been
bag
funny.
to work, start putting the catering food in the
You
bag.
just, yeah, see, like you when you see you're in the locker room, you see like Kurt Angle's championship or something. You're like, you just take that in the bag, you dip or something.
Yeah,
That would
try
have
to
been
pawn
funny.
it.
Yeah, that would be funny. More about like WWE wrestling. Who was like the wrestler that kind of got you into wrestling? And
Mm.
then the second question is because like they're kind of similar, but they're kind of different. What was a wrestler that got you into like wrestling, like into the actual ring and become a wrestler?
Mm. Okay. So the first half of that question, the person, as soon as I saw this person, I was hooked. Chris Jericho.
Okay.
So I didn't get into wrestling. I didn't really get into wrestling until I was almost a teenager. Maybe I was like
Yeah.
12.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And
I started a little bit earlier. I started when I was probably like 7, 8. I was more of a John Cena guy.
yeah, yeah. Well, you're a little younger than I am, not to disclose any age, But
You're not
I feel
that
like
old.
it depends who you ask. Depends who you ask. But anyway, so Chris Jericho, I was playing a video game with my cousin. I'll never forget. And I didn't really know much about wrestling. He's like, oh, let's play. It was the first SmackDown game. And I'm just scrolling through the characters. And I go on Chris Jericho and I'm looking at him. I'm like, this guy looks interesting. He's got the high ponytail sticking out of the top of his head, the long scraggly beard. His facial expression looked like grimaced. I'm like, this guy looks interesting. So I clicked him, and then I saw his whole entrance. I saw the arms up and the countdown, and he had the metallic jacket, and I was just like, this guy is so wild. Like his whole style, like he doesn't care. It's larger than life. That people don't look like that walking down the street,
Yeah.
but he does because he's a superstar, and that's really cool.
Yeah.
So Chris Jericho is the first person that I just gravitated towards. And then after
So
that would be
Is
The
Chris
Rock.
Jericho your favorite wrestler then?
So that's a tough question. It's a loaded question, and I'll be very honest why.
Yeah.
So he was my favorite wrestler for a long time.
Okay.
But for me, when I look at, who's my favorite wrestler, I have to look at their entire career.
Fair
The
point.
stuff
Yeah.
that he's been doing recently, I haven't loved for the last few years. Years. So it's like, could I really say they're my favorite wrestler of all time if I haven't enjoyed them for years and they've still been working? That's hard to say. I don't know. So he's definitely up there. Definitely in my top five. Definitely in my top three, I'll even say. Um, but being that he's still wrestling, and I don't know, some of it I'm like, it's between him, Triple H,
Okay.
Eddie Guerrero, and The Rock. Those would be like my top four, my Mount Rushmore, if you will.
Oh, I was gonna ask you that question next anyway, but you already answered it, so never mind.
Yes, but as far as like who got me into the ring, like who inspired me, is that what you mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Like
would
what
still say Chris
wrestler? Like
Jericho.
yeah. Like you saw him in the wrestling in the ring. You're like, I like this guy. I want to wrestle Chris Jericho one day.
Yeah, oh yeah, I would love that.
Like,
That would be a dream.
would that be like your big dream match? Is Chris Jericho? Is there like set guys in WWE that, or even like TNA or AEW who you have like, hey, I want to wrestle this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy.
Hmm. There was a point in time where I had like a dream list, but those times have come and gone. So I'm gonna say no. Like there's not really like anyone that I would want to work with specifically,
Okay.
but of course I would love to work with everybody. Like there's so many, I don't know. Maybe Jacob Fatu. If
Mm.
I had to pick somebody.
I saw Jacob Fatu at War Games because it was actually in my hometown.
Yeah,
And
okay.
I'm not gonna lie, yo, he grew on me. He's okay. He's like a nice. He's probably one of my favorite wrestlers now. Jacob Fatu, just because he's you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you would have a War Games match, who would be like who would you want on your in your corner?
Oh.
Let's go five
All
on
right.
five.
So
So
I have
who you and
five
four
on
of the
five, so
guys?
four. All right. So you know what? I feel like it would be really easy for me to say my Mount Rushmore. Those are my four. But I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to pick four completely other different people. All right? Um, recent controversies aside, I would have to have Brock Lesnar on my team.
Okay.
So he's going on there. I think if I'm going with like in their prime, could I pick like a past wrestler who's not
Yeah.
okay, anybody. Then I'm gonna go Shawn Michaels,
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, that's a good pick.
The Undertaker, and then I'm gonna round it off with ooh,
Yeah, I like that. I wonder where that's from.
yeah, right. Let me see here. Oh, Kurt Angle, Kurt Angle. I shouldn't have even had a like. I had looked at my pops just to see like
I
who
got
I
some
had
too.
there, but
Yeah.
definitely Kurt Angle.
Yeah, that's nice. That's a nice solid war game match. If you were to, well, what would it be like? I don't know. Let me see. Favorite, like, what's like your favorite like finishing move?
I've always liked the pedigree. I always thought the pedigree was a pretty dope move. I love the theatrics of the people's elbow. It's kind of like a
Oh,
silly,
yeah,
it's a little silly. I mean, it's very
yeah,
silly, but
yeah,
it's just amazing that moment of hitting the spine buster. One thing I love about The Rock is his movements. He understands the body language. He hits the spine buster, just the way he walks to the opponent's head. You know, there's a certain way he does it. Looks
yeah.
in the crowd, takes those moments. You know, the people's elbow is just about moments, you know, just soaking it all in. And then just to hit an elbow drop. But I think
Uh,
that's amazing. To me, that's what wrestling is all about. You know, you can uh feel something out of something so simple as like a stare, you know?
yeah.
And so people's elbow, pedigree are definitely up there. As far as like high flying moves, I've always liked the frog splash. I've always liked
Who do you think has the best frog splash?
ah I'm gonna go with Eddie. I'm going with Eddie. I felt like Rob Van Dam, he's got the height, he's even got the distance. He's
Yeah.
even got more, you know, able to have some curvature in the air. But there's something about Eddie's that I feel like was so precise, so perfect, but also looked rough sometimes. Like you watch it back and you see the way he hits some people, you're like, oof, that actually looks like it hurt,
So
you know?
yeah, I would say Eddie, but I'm too young where I never really saw Eddie Guerrero wrestle as much,
Uh-huh.
right? So I would uh honestly the frog splash is a good move, but I like the airborne like Evan Bourne's airborne where he would like do like that that was that's one of my favorite high flying moves would be.
Yeah. That
And my
yeah,
favorite
he does
finisher
a
of all
shooting
time.
star press.
Yeah. And then my favorite finishing move is probably the RKO because you can just hit that out of anywhere. I'm just like it's out of anywhere. You
That's what
never
they
expect
say,
it.
right?
Yeah, that's probably that. Um, if you were to let me see, now I gotta think of questions.
That's all right. We'll talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah. Have you ever so like you're cheap steak, right? Have you ever been to like an actual wrestling show or like a wrestling event, or do you play
Hmm.
like the wrestling video games as well, or is it like, or is
No,
it
no.
you're, or is it you're not actually cheap? You're cheap if you get what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying. As far as wrestling events, very rare that I go. Very, very rare. But I actually spoiled myself recently and I decided to go to one. I went
Okay.
to one, not this past Royal Rumble, but the one before that. And for me, that was a huge deal. I do not buy wrestling tickets. I don't. That's just an expense that's just too much, you know? But it was kind of like on my bucket list. I always wanted to go to a Royal Rumble. I'm like, before the day that I die, I
Yeah.
want to see a Royal Rumble, you know?
Yeah.
I want to
Cause
go in person. So,
I've been to four events. That's why.
oh, which ones have you gone to?
So right before COVID, I went to a SmackDown.
Okay.
Right? Then I went to another SmackDown right before COVID happened, or not COVID, but like the SmackDown that happened like last year,
Okay.
like the one in Vancouver.
Yeah.
And then I went to WrestleMania 40,
Ooh,
right?
nice.
It was pretty sick.
Yeah.
And then I went to Survivor Series because it was my hometown. But WrestleMania was amazing for my experience, just because it's like a Comic Con of wrestling, and there's a
Right.
bunch of wrestling fans there, and like
Yeah.
all my buddies are dressed up as wrestlers. I was dressed up as John Cena. We had some
Yeah.
guy dressed up as, but that was probably amazing. But what do you think of the Royal Rumble then?
The one that I went to was the one where CM Punk got hurt,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it was
totally.
pretty good. It wasn't like my favorite Rumble, but still being there in person was really cool. You know, especially because I'm like, this is on my bucket list. I don't I don't always tend to like let myself enjoy things that cost money. Like I just don't, you know. So when I do let that happen, it's a big deal for me, you know, buying tickets, you know, and I didn't buy tickets and sit all the way in the back. I'm like, you know, if I'm going to do this, I should
Might as
at
well be in
least
the
have
front.
a, well, not the front. I don't have that much money. I wasn't gonna spend that much money. That's just crazy. But somewhere in the middle, I want to have decent seats. I don't want to look at it and say I should have just watched this at home, you know? So I got decent seats. So that was, you know, for me, that was a lot. Um, so it's something I'll never forget. I really like Jordan Grace.
Yeah.
So when she came out for the Rumble, I was like, nice. I thought that was really cool. That was probably like my moment for me. You know, I'm a big fan of hers.
Yeah, no, I like the Rumble too. I like watching it a few years ago when like all the old school wrestlers came out, like The Godfather comes out and like
Yeah.
Boogeyman. They don't do that anymore, and I get it from like WWE's perspective because they're not gonna win. But
Right.
I don't care if Godfather comes out, not gonna win. It's nostalgic, like I want to see that,
Right.
right? To and then yeah that and then. So the Rumble, I feel like they should just have, everybody just like older wrestlers come in there. What would
Yeah.
you think like what did you think about this year's Rumble? Jey Uso winning. That a curveball? Do you think that was a curveball
That's
from
a
you or
good question. Definitely was a curveball for me. I did not see it coming. I was absolutely rooting for John Cena or CM
I was
Punk.
too. I was rooting for Cena.
And I was very surprised. And when it initially happened, I was like, I don't know how I feel about this, you know? But then I watched Raw, and Raw, he did a speech. I saw how emotionally invested he was in this moment. And in that moment, I decided I was okay with it. I was okay with it. I feel like, yeah, exactly. And I feel like that's the story, man. Like that's what wrestling used to be about a little bit more, like accomplishing that dream or having the, as they say, the American dream where it's like, hey, it doesn't matter if you start from the bottom, you can work your way up and you too could be a star and you too can
Yeah.
can grab. So I get it. I get it from that perspective. And that's a great story to tell. And not
I
only that, hmm?
yeah, go ahead.
Um, the kids love them. The kids love them. The merchandise is there. If there was a few people that you put on a short list and said, "Hey, who are some people that have really broke ground and really stood out?" He's got to be on that short list, you know? So yeah, he won, and I'm thinking about that, and it doesn't really bother me at all. And I really his speech is what changed my mind.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a good story to tell.
Yeah, I feel like at WrestleMania they're gonna have Jay win the world title, and then Jimmy Uso's gonna win the US title. They're gonna have like a brotherly moment there. That's what they're gonna do. And what do you think about John Cena's retirement tour? This is like probably the last question I'm gonna ask before I give you time for yourself to talk about what you're doing. But what do you think about
Sure.
John Cena's retirement tour?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've seen him enough now that it's officially started. I
But
think we've
but you
only
can't
seen
see
him
him though.
twice. Yeah, yeah, right, yeah. So maybe he's been there the whole time. He's probably showed up for every Raw and SmackDown. I just don't know. Um, so yeah, I would like to.
Before, what do you think about sorry about that, but what do you think about his like heelish promo after the Rumble where he's like, I deserve to be in the chamber? What do you think
I
about
didn't
that?
really think it was heelish. I know a lot of people are like, oh, he's gonna turn. I don't think so. I mean, it's his last year. It would be silly if he decided to go out on being a bad guy. I feel like his press and publicist would
I'm
be
gonna get
like,
more into that because I have a theory here.
okay, okay. So
Yeah.
I think he's gonna be a good guy. He's gonna end being good. I don't think it was a heel. I think it was just a very real promo for us to be like, oh, he really wants this. He's really serious. Like, like for him to push his weight around, which he doesn't usually do, this means a lot. There's a lot at stake here. So that's all I took it as.
Yeah. So there's two things I think they should do. Number one, I think John Cena should win the world title. But
Hmm?
then who's the dirtiest heel right now? You have Dominic Mysterio. The guy just gets he booed. So I think they should have Dominic Mysterio get the briefcase and cash in on Cena. Is
Nah,
Dominic Mysterio a world championship caliber? I don't know that. But having Dominic Mysterio cash on John Cena would be pretty heelish,
I
and that would
think
get him the most heat,
I think having Dominic Mysterio in general winning the Money in the Bank
which is
is a
pretty heel.
great idea.
Yeah.
Whether he cashes in successfully or not, and I'll tell you what, if he were to win the briefcase and he was going to cash in, I would bet, I don't want to say a number because then I might have to stand by that. A lot of money that the fans would be upset if he did not cash in successfully.
Yeah.
Fans would be like, "Oh, what a waste. This was the moment to give him the title."
But what I think they're going to do John Cena is I think he is going to turn heel. But I think he's going to turn heel at TLC, be like, I don't the title. Fuck you guys. I'm teaming with the Rumble. Then he enters next year's Rumble. Then he does one more year. So I think this
Yeah,
entire retirement tour is he's not actually retiring this year. He's going to turn heel and then do another year. Because
interesting.
that would be as a heel, that'd be like that would just be heelish. He'd be like, everyone's like, what the fuck? Right? And
It
no one's
would
gonna see
be.
it coming. Like
I,
that'd
I'll,
be pretty
I think of it also like life outside of wrestling.
that is true as
And
well, yeah.
like and like for him to go out on such a negative note, I don't see it happening.
Do you think he's gonna break the record though for more Super titles? Or do you think he's gonna break the record or become a Grand Slam? Or do you think he's gonna do both?
I think he's going to break the record. I think he's going to do it. I think if anyone should do it, it should be him. Some people say Charlotte
Charlotte.
Flair. I think she'll end up surpassing the number also. I just think it'll be
But Cena has
after
to do it
C.
first.
Yes. That's
And
what
do you think R-Truth should win the titles with this childhood hero?
R-Truth is someone who, if he won the Money in the Bank, I also would not be upset. You know? It would be nice if he had one more big moment before he hangs it up for good, you know?
Yeah. Hey, the guy's like 47, so I mean he's still going strong.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm just letting you do. You said you want to talk about what you're doing currently, so I'm just gonna let you,
Yeah,
talk about what you're currently doing.
sure, sure. So I've been working on a lot of different things outside of wrestling. If you don't know, we talked about my wrestling career, but unfortunately, just about what's today's date? 2/11, almost about a year to this day, I tore my ACL and my meniscus, which is really sucked.
Tremendous.
And some other stuff in my knee. So my knee is really messed up. But I've stepped away from the ring for now. Just kind of being holding it down, being a dad, and pursuing other if I could speak, that'd be great. Pursuing other endeavors. Pursuing other endeavors. And some stuff that I've been working on. If you don't follow me, you should follow me at Cheap Wrestler on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. I post pretty much every day, multiple times a day. We talk wrestling. I do kind of trivia questions. I do just kind of forum questions like, what do you guys think? Let's talk about it. So if you don't follow me, you should follow me at Cheap Wrestler. Um, I also do a lot of media. If you guys are ever looking for, you need custom songs, you need graphic design work, I'm opening my own business called Matt Rivera Pro Media, which is yeah, all multimedia, whatever you could think of, it could probably get done. Ask me about it, DM me, and we'll talk. What else am I working on here? I think those are the major ones. A lot of people ask me about the return to wrestling. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
This is just a weird question. I'm just gonna pull it up on my phone. So just give me a minute here.
Sure.
Give me a second. Sorry here.
Take your time.
Uh, yeah. There's you pin it's where Dolph Ziggler roasts you. But
Yeah.
yeah, what do you and what do you feel about how is that? Like how is the oh, and then your cheapskates got 2 million views as well. What are
Yeah.
your thoughts on those two?
So,
Just get roasted in wrestling. Like you got roasted by Jerry Lawler as well. So what's your like? You got roasted by
yeah.
WWE, which number one you're getting acknowledged by WWE legends, so that's a good thing.
Right, right. Absolutely. So when the episode came out, I don't remember if it was the episode that came out or the YouTuber Cody Co. He did a reaction to it, and this is when I went crazy. Oh no, it wasn't that. It was definitely the original Extreme Cheapskates video put out by TLC on YouTube. This is where I realized how crazy this was. I was looking at the top 10 trending things on YouTube, and my video was number 5. And I was like, number 5 in the world? That's insane. And number 7 was Eminem's new music video. And I was like,
Like
you're
yes,
telling
I got
me,
more views than Eminem. Let's
yeah,
go.
I was like, more people are watching me with my mom shaving my head in the shower than Eminem's new music video? That was when I was just like, whoa, this is a thing, you know? This is crazy. Um, so that's number one with the video itself. With that video of the WWE superstars reacting to it, it was hilarious. It was a little weird, having Dolph Ziggler make a sexual joke about my mother. But other than that,
Hey, he's in TNA. You can call him out on it. You can call him
yeah,
out. You
right.
can be like, yo,
That's
you
right,
should
you
go for the
know.
TN, go for the TNA championship. Go for a
All
champion. I'm
right,
just
Nick Nemeth, yeah. Gonna talk about my mom. Yeah, I'm still holding a grudge 10 years later.
yeah. What's with the whole purple room? Is that the Undertaker style room or what?
Yeah. So this was as I was saying before, I do a lot of multimedia. So I do
Oh, so that's the
it's actually a
multimedia room.
recording studio.
Uh, is that
So I
where you
used
record
to,
your wrestling stuff as well? Like,
yeah,
who's your favorite?
yeah.
Yeah.
So this was, I would use it for any sort of filming opportunities. I was working out of here for a while, and I was having people record. I would record the music that they wanted, hip hop artists, a bunch of things. And I'll be honest, I didn't love doing it. After a while of doing it, I was like, nah, I don't know if I want to record other people and just have so many different people walking in and out of here on a regular basis. It was just too much. So I don't, if I record music, it's usually just my own or somebody that I'm really close to. But yeah, it's multi-purpose media room. And I don't know, purple just seemed like the right color.
Yeah. I mean, your ACL, MCL, is it better? Is it healed, or where's the process in that?
So, to be honest, I haven't been taking care of it the way I should. I'm not taking care of it in order to get it to a point where I can be athletic with it, you know? Right now, it's kind of just manageable as far as walking around and living everyday life, but I need to retrain it for anything athletic. I need to retrain it to run. I need to retrain it to do squats. I need to retrain it to jump. And I haven't been. I've been slacking on my macking. I have not been doing my
Lazy?
PT at home. All right. All right,
You
Doc.
lazy?
Sorry.
Keep
No,
it lazy?
I haven't been following through. So I definitely need to step it up. If I had to give like a percentage, I would say it's like 70% healed.
Do you
Maybe
want to get back
60.
into the ring eventually when it is fully healed, or is that like we'll see what the time tells, or
We'll see what happens. We'll see. Well, yeah, we'll see what happens as time progresses. I don't want to make
yeah.
any promises, but I will say this. I do not like using the word retired. So I will not say I'm
I mean,
retired
hey, as a
because
wrestling fan, we never say never anyway. So
nope. That's right. That's right. Hey, if
yeah.
Shawn Michaels can come back, anybody can.
Hey, if CM Punk can go back to WWE after 10 years,
Right?
I mean, no one thought
Right?
that was gonna happen. So
No one thought that was gonna
yeah,
happen.
it was
And here
funny.
we
He came
are.
back at Survivor Series 2023, and then I was after the year after where that which I'm gonna ask, what do you think his favor is? Because he has a favor in his
Ooh,
pocket from Paul Heyman.
yeah. So I'm gonna be really honest. I don't think WWE knows what it is. I don't think they know. I don't think they know what it is yet. I think they're like, all right, we'll hold on to this and then we'll use it later.
I
Um,
I think I think either Roman helps CM Punk in the chamber,
uh-huh.
or I think what they're gonna do is they're gonna have CM Punk fight Roman Reigns at SummerSlam, and then Paul Heyman turns on Roman Reigns,
Mm.
and he go. That's what I can't really think of anything else. What else the favor would be, to be honest? Like I
It's
don't
it's
really.
it's hard to think about what it would be, because the thing is, if Roman helps CM Punk win anything, that kind of makes CM Punk look like a bad guy, you know? Like he has to cheat, like he needs to require Roman's help.
Yeah,
So, so that's just the I don't know. It's hard to say, but I hope whatever it is, it's good and the payoff is worth it. And we're like, ooh, that was a good twist to this story, or ooh, that was a good thing to ask for. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I have that much faith that I'm gonna be wowed. It takes a lot to wow me, but I hope
yeah.
WWE can do it.
Yeah, and then one thing from your Chief stakes, what did you think about when you met like Kurt Angle and Chris Sabin? What was like that experience just meeting like those guys? And then how did you know that? Because I know you're like the guy that you trained at, he's like, oh, TNA's called you. Was that like
Mm.
your first time knowing that TNA was interested in having you, or what was
Yes, that was definitely the first time that I had ever stepped foot in TNA at all, like any sort of show. So that was the whole thing was surreal. It was surreal to me. I was there and I didn't really know what to expect because I know that they coordinated with the show. Because and this is the tough thing. Like I had watched tryouts before, but it's not like today. And today, the average wrestling fan kind of knows what like drills look like or what wrestling training looks like. But it wasn't really like that as much 10 years ago. It still had a little bit of an unknown factor to it. And so I had seen people do drills and like little tryouts here and there, but I didn't really know what they were going to ask me to do, especially because it was being filmed. I'm like, all right, so they're going to need to film it in a certain way. And it was rough. I was definitely nervous. And that's what we did. But I did my best. I gave it my all. I have nothing that I feel ashamed of or embarrassed of. Like I said, afterwards, after it was over, maybe I could have done something more to make my presence felt or maximize my minutes. But overall, it was a great experience. It was a great experience, and it shaped a lot of years of my life. And I actually met Kurt Angle recently again after all this time, and I got a picture with him, and it was a full circle moment. I never got that opportunity to work with
yeah?
TNA, but meeting Kurt was that was up there for me.
And then last question before we off, is there anything that you would want to say to someone going into wrestling or just anything in general? What would that be? Like,
I'll start with going into wrestling. It's hard. It's not easy. If you think, oh, something that's easy, I wouldn't even bother. It's difficult, it's challenging, it'll push you mentally and physically. So unless you're ready for that, maybe do something different. It's a lot. A lot of people don't realize how much it is or how grueling it is or
Yeah,
how thankless it could be or how little the pay is when you're on the indie scene. It's tough. But I always say, and I have it tattooed on my arm, reach for the stars, sky's the limit. I believe that you have to chase your dreams in this life. This is your life. This is your life. You have to chase your dreams. You have to try to do the things that you want to do, that you're scared to do. You
yeah,
have to, you know, you just have to. You have to do it. This is your only life. So if you want it, go get it.
yeah. And then what about just anything in general? What would you want to let people know? Just anything in general.
I would say that. Chase your
So,
dreams.
those are James.
Chase your dreams, and be smart about it. Like I was thinking about it the other day, and for me, I was always a dream chaser, always chasing dreams. I was in school, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was like, why am I in school? Like, I don't know what I want to do here. Like, I'm just trying to chase my dreams. But my parents were like, you should probably go to school too. And I'm like, all right. But looking back at it now, what I wish someone told me was, Matt, if you want to be a wrestler, you're going to be your own brand. Maybe you should get into business so you know how to manage your own business or manage your own finances and I'm like, something that would help bring my dream to life to make it even better. So that would be my only piece of advice. Some people think you need to choose like, oh, it's just my dream or it's just college. No, it doesn't that doesn't have to be the case. If anything, do things that supplement each other. So just a little nugget of information as I get older.
Yeah. Alrighty. Is there anything else that you want to say before we call?
Follow me at Cheap Wrestler, social media, and Kurt Angle one day, maybe in another 10 years.
Already guys, that was Mania Mayhem with Cheap Wrestler Matt Rivera. Follow him on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, everything. Mania Mayhem. And yeah, I think that's it. Thank you, Matt. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for taking time out of
Thanks
your
for
day.
having me.
Busy schedule. No worries. Hey, you're the first guest, man. That's an honor to have you as the first guest.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate
Okay. All right.
it. All
Thank
right,
you, Matt.
brother.
Appreciate you. Peace out. You have a
Take
good
it
day, man.
easy. You too.
All right, guys, we just had Matt Rivera on here. That was a City Sick episode. Nice Mania Mayhem. I'm gonna end it quickly, but hey, now you guys know who Matt Rivera is. We got to learn a lot about him, and hey, like, hey, it's amazing. We got our interview. That was sick. Yeah, honestly, like, I'm having goosebumps. I don't know what else to ask. Really, really nice meeting him, and yeah, it was nice meeting him and talking to him about wrestling in general, just having a nice conversation. We just had a nice conversation. That's what I wanted to do. So had a nice conversation with him and it was sick. Cheap wrestler, hey, at least he's doing good now. He's no longer cheap, I guess. He's doing other stuff, other ambitions. Went to the Rumble, it was amazing. And yeah, me and him, and I'm out, boys.